why we do this. Why? Awesome. Now my hair is gonna be a mess. Yeah. And he is too hot. Oh my gosh. Oh my god. Happy Monday, guys. If you spend any time on the internet at all, which I'm assuming that you do because you're on the internet now, then at some point you have seen somebody put the hashtag goals. Hashtag friend goals, hashtag makeup goals, hashtag hair goals, hashtag food goals, I don't know, hashtag goals. But what you don't see as much of is people actually putting in the work to make it to their goals. I'm super guilty of this myself. And it's not because I'm too lazy to do it. It's because I'm too scared. And I'm willing to bet that that's probably the reason that a lot of you aren't reaching for your goals too. We're too scared of failing at something that we really want, that we're really passionate about, and so we stay stuck where we are. That's why we're stuck in relationships that we're not happy with, or jobs that we're not happy with, or lives that we're not happy with. So we're gonna talk about failure this morning. Failure is inevitable. And I promise it gets an eensy-weensy bit more motivating as we go on. See, your parents and your grandparents and your friends and your coworkers and your pastors, well, not my pastor, but maybe yours, will tell you that you can do anything you put your mind to, but that's not really true. See, you can't just do anything. You're never going to win at everything. But here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with that. See, we have this awful stigma attached to the word failure, that it's something that you want to avoid at all costs, even if the cost of that is not getting the things you want. Failure is not a bad thing. Failure just means that you're trying at something. And that's a really good thing. Failure is just a part of the process. Okay, take the story of the 3 little pigs, but we're just gonna switch it to 1 little pig. Tracking with me? Okay, so we have 1 little pig and his goal is to build a house. So he takes his knowledge of house building, which is virtually non-existent at this point because it's still the beginning of our story, and he builds a house out of hay. It's what he had on hand. It's all he could afford at the time, and he builds a house. And huff, puff, house blows down. Now, at this point, he could move back in with his parents, or he could get back up and try again. That's what our little pig does. So he takes his still very limited, but growing knowledge of house building, and he builds a house out of sticks. And huff, puff, house blows down. And again, our poor little pig has failed. So he could, again, give up, move back in with his parents. He could get mad at God and blame God for his failure, or he could get back up and try again, knowing what he knows now. And our ever so resilient little piggy does just that. And he gets back up and takes his now borderline extensive knowledge as far as fairy tales go, and he builds himself a 3rd house, this time out of bricks. And the world can huff and puff at him all it wants. He's not caving this time. Because he's tried and he's failed, and now he's finally made it to where he wanted to be. See, failure is how we learn what works and what doesn't. The first time that they tried to make a light bulb, it didn't work. But judging by the fact that you have some in the room that you're in right now, and the fact that I have a moderately well-lit YouTube video, means that someone kept trying. And eventually they got it right. Failure is how we get to the places we want to get to. And sometimes failure changes where that place is for us. And that's amazing sometimes. See, I went to school for theater because I wanted to act. And that's great. Acting is a lot of fun, but it's not where I was supposed to end up. But if it weren't for those failures in acting, if it weren't for those times that I didn't get cast in things, then I wouldn't have been sitting backstage putting makeup on my fellow theater majors. I wouldn't have learned the things that set the foundation for what I do now. I wouldn't have fallen in love with FX makeup if it weren't for those failures. And arguably, I'm a much better FX artist than I ever was an actress, and I'm pretty sure I like it better too. So in light of that, I hope you fail at something soon. I realize that doesn't sound super motivational, but I mean it. I want to see you trying enough to fail at something. I want to see you going after the things that you want enough to risk and knowing fully well that you will inevitably fail at something and that that's okay. So I want to challenge you guys this week to take a step, a big, scary step towards that goal of yours. Maybe that's just as simple as finally saying out loud what your dreams and your goals are to someone. Maybe it's going back to school or figuring out what you've got to do to make it in that career that you want. Maybe it's getting out of a bad relationship. Maybe it's putting yourself out there enough to risk starting a new one. Maybe it's putting up a YouTube video for the world to judge you. So let's try to take a step towards failure together. Have a good week.